Okay, so we're going to be doing something a little bit different today. Welcome back to the channel. My name is LionHeartZ, and today we're going to be reviewing a new set of Anubis changes that have been proposed by famous YouTuber and the best player on Mythic, Austin. As we all know, Anubis is definitely a map that has a lot of issues, and seeing as how Valve like to move in glacial pace ways and that alone, it's nice to see the community stepping forward to propose some changes in the meantime. Will these actually matter? Will they get into the game? Who knows? However, it's a fun exercise and gives me an excuse to talk about the balance of Anubis outside the context of a tournament recap. So today, let's go over the problems with Anubis, what Austin attempted to do to rectify them, and whether or not they were successful, as well as some feedback on changes going forward that I think would be nice to see. If you guys like this kind of content, make sure you take a second, leave a like, leave a comment down below, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Helps out immensely in the YouTube algorithm, as well as with helping me reach 10k subs by the end of the year, so thank you for doing it. And lastly, let's go ahead and thank today's sponsor. This video is sponsored by SkinsMonkey, a CS2 trading website. You put in the skins that you want to trade, you select what you want, you use my code LionHeartZ for up to $5 off, or click the top link in the description, and boom, new drip.
Nice.
You can also use my code for a 35% deposit bonus if you want to buy with real money. And they have a free section with cool giveaways. So check the top link in the description, use my code to buy 15 Dragon Lores to let them know I sent you their way, and thank you to SkinsMonkey for sponsoring this video. Alright, so first things first, if you want to try Austin Anubis yourself, you can do so at the Steam Workshop link, linked in the description down below. And of course, if you are somehow following me but don't know who Austin is or don't follow him, please follow him on Twitter and his various YouTube channels. Austin really is one of the biggest and most important content creators in the space, and the content he makes is genuinely excellent. One last little bit of housekeeping before we get started. The background footage throughout this video were from some 10-mans we ran last night, both on stream and within my Discord. You can find the links to both of those in the description. We are trying to do more 10-mans more frequently now that I have a dedicated server setup, so join up and you'll be able to play with us in future matches. Alright, so let's talk about the problems with Anubis first. Anubis is obviously the most T-sided map in the pool, both at the pro and casual level. It is one of the hardest maps to approach from the CT side in the game for many varied factors. The first and foremost being economy, and Austin can't really, put in changes to the economy when it comes to a workshop map, so we're going to skip over that issue. When it comes down to the map layout itself, one of the biggest issues is the lack of mobility on the CT side. You really are hemmed into the bomb sites and the bomb sites alone, as taking space beyond that requires a significant effort that is far too often more risky than it is worth the reward. Consequently, this creates a T-side meta where oftentimes the best thing to do is to slowly creep and take map control away from the CTs and force them to bleed out utility to prevent bomb site takes, and then when things are all dried up late into the round, you pincer into one of these bomb sites, get the bomb down, and the retake is virtually impossible. One of the biggest issues with those retakes, starting with the B bomb site, is that once you are pushed off the site proper, retaking through these angles through CT, temple, E-box, B main, however you go about it, requires you to clear an absurd amount of angles. Take for example, you're coming out through temple back into the bomb site. As soon as you get to the temple entrance, you have to clear prison, B main, then have to clear it to your left towards the bomb site, back by the pillar, E-box, you got to clear dark both in the far corner, then the close left corner, but as you clear the close left corner, you open yourself up to the CT side, the close right corner, as well as prison. There's so many angles for the T's to shackle up and put near unbeatable crossfires into place, so the point is, once the bomb goes down, the B site is basically lost for good, and more often than not, you're best off saving. And honestly, the A site is not much better. One of the chief issues that Austin sought to solve was the problem that if you go over to the A bomb site and you lose it in the post-plant situation in the T smoke camera, how do you get out? Because if you go out through the camera smoke, congratulations, you're in the middle of the open with no cover, exposed to 45 billion angles. So when you consider how little the CTs have to offer, how little they can do compared to pretty much every other map in the game, it makes total sense why this map is so T-sided slanted, especially with the economic issues on top. So how did Austin go about trying to fix this issue? Well, in the version that's currently available on the Steam Workshop, there were 3 massive changes. Firstly, on the B site, the exit of temple onto the B site was shifted back to the right, eliminating the corner and dark that many Ts would use in the post plant. When you walk out of temple, it is now a straight hallway all the way onto the bomb site, making actually getting out and clearing angles much simpler and more streamlined. On the A site, most notably, a giant pillar has just been placed down in the front of camera, splitting off the angle from bricks to the stairs, and giving CTs a very important piece of cover when you exit camera onto the platform on the bomb site. And lastly, and probably most controversially based on my playtesting and feedback from people in my Discord so far, is that over in water, water stairs was pushed back, the cubby in water was made deeper, in an effort to make the water fight to E-box a little bit more equal in timing for the CTs, so the CTs going B to E-box will get there a little bit sooner. So after playing a handful of games myself, how did these changes go over, and do I think they've made the map better? Well, starting first off with B-site, I think most people will agree if you play on this map that these B-site changes proposed by Austin feel very good to play around. During my rounds when I was on the CT side, if we lost the B side, had to retake that side control, navigating and clearing out the T's felt much smoother and way more even in terms of the site balance. T's were not able to set up as many effective crossfires, and most importantly to me, there were less 50-50 angles, which is oftentimes the most frustrating part. Many of us have found ourselves in difficult situations in like 3v2, 3v3 kind of post-plan situations, where coming into the B bomb site, there's so many 50-50 checks that it can feel daunting and waste a lot of time. The peaks being streamlined meant the CTs felt like they had much more of a viable chance to retake, especially with utility like flashbangs, mollies, nades supporting it. Based on what I asked other people in my server after playing a few games, everyone seemed to largely like this change. If there was one issue I would put forward to Austin that could be fixed, is that the way that they moved the door and put this brick pile in the background. When you peek as a T from B main, this brick pile has a lot of dark crags that kind of look like the CT model sometimes. The visual clutter when fighting a CT standing at the back of side felt just a little bit annoying, and I wish this wall was smoothed out or lined up in some way just to create some more player contrast so that you're not losing player models as much as I felt like I was when fighting CTs holding the bomb site to begin with. If I had to give this B site change like a letter grade, I would give it a strong A. I feel like most people, if you played a match or two, would not find this change that difficult to acclimate to, and it doesn't necessarily swing the bomb site balance overwhelmingly in the CT's favor. It just, again, gives you that little bit of chance in those retake situations, something that you definitely don't have in the current live version of the map. Unfortunately, I cannot say the same for the changes that Austin proposed for Down by Water. Based on feedback from other players in my testing as well as my own experience here, I do not think this change will land well, nor did it feel good to play with. It felt like the timings actually were far too slanted in the CT side favor, as CTs with the optimal spawn to E-box would actually beat Ts to the water stairs peak, something that I don't feel like feels very good to play against, and honestly if this was to go through, I think Ts would smoke E-box far more often as a correction for this issue, because CTs getting there to that corridor for that early information felt very powerful. I also got a chance to play against Austin when he streamed this map's debut on his Twitch channel, and in that game, very often his team was throwing a smoke to the front of T stairs and taking water control quite easily, and it felt very oppressive to fight against, and honestly, I don't know if I like it. Yes, right now a big problem with Anubis is that Ts get too much map control, but honestly, the way this changed with the flow of the timings didn't feel like a good solution in my opinion. Namely just the length of the corridor. I feel like if Austin's goal here is to give the CTs a better timing to the E-box fight, I would much rather see something changed like the spawn positions where CTs were moved a little bit closer, maybe shifted more towards the B side, so that CTs could get to E-box faster than they can currently, but not necessarily change the actual angle and length of the corridor with that fight to T stairs. I think if this one a letter grade, I would say it's probably like a strong C, as I understand what Austin's going for here, but this specific implementation I don't think would land that well for both the pro level as well as the general population playing the game. And that leaves us with one set of changes, and that's over on the A side. Now this pillar was surprisingly controversial, as when I first saw it and playtested it with Austin on stream, I thought this was going to be like a slam dunk change, as I think what it's trying to solve is probably the biggest pain point for CTs, and that's the ability to get out through camera in the retake situation. However, some feedback I received from other members in my Discord is that this pillar is very wide, so when CTs are defending the bomb site before Ts take it, it gives a very large space of cover that can be a little bit annoying to deal with, as it offers up a big 50-50 fight with which side the CT chooses to swing, left or right. So I do think that this pillar could be made thinner, and that would go a long way to still maintain Austin's vision of giving CTs that little bit of cover when they're exiting camera, while also not being a big entrenched position that maybe the Ts would have to adapt to handling with either smokes, mollies, or nades down the line. It's like a best of both worlds solution in my opinion. Overall though, I think this pillar and nothing else pretty much fixes the issues with A's site, as A always felt to me to be the bomb site with less issues compared to B. So if I had to give a final letter grade for this change specifically, I personally would go with an A, but based on feedback from other people, I think we have to kind of call this a B, as there were some issues that I really didn't think we'd run into, specifically when it comes back to holding A before the T's have taken the site. I did not expect to run into that in our playtesting. So yeah, that's my feedback for Austin on his Anubis changes. Some of you may be wondering kind of what's the point of this? It's not like Valve are going to turn around tomorrow and just take Austin's changes whole cloth. Well, other than this just being a fun exercise, do keep in mind that way back in the day, Adren, a pro player turned coach in NA, did a similar set of changes for maps that were actually adopted into the game later on. This can galvanize the devs to do something later on down in the road, and Anubis is one of those maps that really feels like it will receive some changes at some point. So, if nothing else, it's a cool thing to look over what could happen, and more importantly, give feedback if Valve happens to be paying attention. It's one of the cool things that we can do as the community as we await new updates, however few and far in between they may be. Regardless, as Austin keeps working on this project, I'll definitely be playtesting it more, and like I said in the beginning, if you want to come participate in those playtests, you can join me in my community Discord linked in the description. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you leave a like, leave a comment down below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Helps out immensely the YouTube algorithm as well to helping reach 10K by the end of the year, so thank you for doing it. Thank you to SkinsMonkey for sponsoring this video. Check the top link in the description and you can go trade on their website using my code. It lets them know I sent you their way. Thank you to SkinsMonkey. Thank you to my channel members, Justin, JesseTiv, Milan Berta, Bubblesj, Dr. Cards, Patatas Kaftesi, PTR, B1 Games, Cody Foxworthy, Justin Vegt, I'm Flashbang, Snowy White, Vergil'sPlasticChair, and Sid Pro 12. If you want to become a channel member, you can do so at the link in the description down below for $5 a month. You can name it in the video just like this, as well as a custom role in the community Discord. Also follow me on Twitch.tv/LionHeartZ CS2. I'll see you guys soon in another video. Peace.